Okay, then let's continue with Abdallah, who will focus his presentation. I think the title is not fully correct here, on China and policy challenges. So just as a background, Solar Power Europe published together with the Global Solar Council recently the Global Market Outlook, and the Global Solar Council was responsible for contributing the focus chapter on the region of the year, which is China this time. Abdallah, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you, Fabian. If you can assist me in allowing me opening my video and sharing my screen, that would be great. Yes, there we go. Thank you very much. Yeah, just 1 second, and I'll be sharing my presentation. Just give me a sign that you can see my presentation. That would be great.
Yeah, we can. And perfect.
All right, great. Thank you very much for your invitation. We're very excited to participate in this webinar. And I will briefly go through, maybe just complement a little bit of what Fabian already mentioned and Michael, on a bit of elements of the Chinese market. Maybe go into what is enabling China now into being the top market player, and then going to the general policy recommendations, global policy recommendation. What challenges do we face now in solar PV sector and how we can tackle it and move forward? First, I'm going to just talk about a bit about the Global Solar Council. And for whomever is not familiar with us, we're the Global Solar Industry Association, and we are the voice of solar around the world. And we represent all actors from manufacturers to recyclers and across all the value chain. Our members are we're a member-based organization, and our members are big associations, regional associations, national associations, on top of international corporates working in the solar sphere. And we work with international partners on diplomacy levels, governments, and other NGOs and networks to represent solar. We try to work on policy and advocacy, core functions. It's setting standards for the industry and for other stakeholders, and also act as a network and building connections between whoever's involved in the solar sphere. All right, just want to say that it has been really an exciting year for solar. We're noticing a huge development. It's becoming more and more relevant. It's always been, a spotlight, but we are expanding exponentially. And you can see this has already been shown by Michael. You can see how basically solar PV installation has been accumulated. So, and on the left, you can see the total renewable energy installations that happened in 2023, and how solar is around 80% of that installed capacity. But the major contributor, as also Fabian mentioned, is how China is doing well on all like spheres, manufacturing and installments, market development. China added just alone 216 gigawatt in 2023, and that's really a substantial amount of the total installed capacity. Even in China standards, you see the non-fossil fuel energy accounts more than 50%, and that's a great indication, not just for solar, but also the shift of power dynamics, and also solar and wind now amounts to around more than 1 terawatt, which is more than 36% of their total installed capacity. So there might be a lot of drivers to that, and although not directly, but still, like how they initiated a goal for having a net zero of CO2 emissions by 2060. And even in their NDCs of what new renewable energy capacities they want to include, and CO2 reductions by 2030. And it's projected that they will achieve that maybe this year. And they're gonna overshoot. Now, there could be an argument that they have been under ambitious, but still the growth is quite remarkable, and we can see the share of solar here in their installed capacities. So this will continue to go on. China is the biggest market now, and it is projected to be the biggest market going forward. So we can see here the projections based on high scenario, medium scenario, and low scenarios. And we can see China is continuing to be, by a long stretch, the top market. Well, that's, of course, because of their continued, the projected maybe manufacturing capabilities, and already in-planned projects. And then, but this could change, of course, depending on many other factors and change of plans going forward. Some of the other enabling policies that they had is, they implemented a lot of key projects and initiatives to promote their domestic development, and this includes a lot of demonstration projects in many provinces. And some of the most important ones, like the Golden Sun demonstration project, and a lot of bids for power plant, and these bids they incentivize a lot of new installations. They were incrementally enabling a lot of policies for solar PV, in general renewable energy, starting in 2005 with the renewable energy law. And there's a lot of steps, and I don't want to maybe go through all of these step by step, but just to considering the most important ones, maybe the latest. They have been, there's like a developments on the feed-in tariff and policies, and there has been the 5-year plans, which I think is one of the most important ones. And other, there were like subsidies that were introduced, and other encouraging, facilitating policies and regulations. But the 5-year plans, and including more targets, and even though we can see that in 2023 there's change on the subsidies. In 2022, change on subsidies for residential PV, and even there was restructuring of how tariff, also like how these subsidies goes on for even utility scale, and reforms for the electricity market. Still, it slows down maybe a little bit of the installations at the end, but the momentum is still quite huge in comparison to other markets, so we still see it as big installations. And just here, like we can see, even in distributed solar, it's that of course it's more centralized, but still distributed. It takes a lot of their contribution, which me personally believe this is one of good signs on how solar should develop, both in terms of centralized and distributed. And in the below graph, we can see how it's how different in provinces the concentration of centralized versus distributed, and this is in result to available available spaces and also in topography and existing provincial regulations and plans. I might, like with there's a lot of opportunities for solar sector. There's happening in China at the moment. There's a lot of technological advancement and efficiency improvement. There's a lot of investment going on in research and development. The government policy and targets, they might be under ambitious, so there could be new updates on that in the next iterations of the 5-year plans. And their markets, the markets that the electricity markets that they have might be the biggest ones we see so far. There's a lot of green hydrogen projects going on, and then China also has the most of the opportunities for job creation and focused from around the world. And the challenges we see, it's Fabian touched upon, supply chain issues, and some, like still regulations is there, but a lot could be worked to open and incentivize more projects, developments on the grids, and land availability is still an issue. I might just go on and to discuss the policy recommendations, and also integrate it with a bit of the challenges that we face. And these recommendations, this is not for the Chinese market. This is for overall what we can do on a global level. And first recommendation is to encourage solar PV deployment across all market segments. So although we see a lot of good numbers, but still there's many markets still unopened. Many countries still have untapped potential. So we need to set clear, ambitious targets, and then associate that with the supportive policies, regulations, long-term strategies, and financing mechanisms. So these policies would play a crucial role in incentivizing private finance, and attract more. And we should avoid, having a lot of political changes. We need to boost investor confidence and have a sustainable market growth. And this plays well into, having support schemes for like feed-in tariff that could initially incentivize markets, and find ways for integrating more distributed solar. And in general, we should encourage innovation and applications of new solar PV. Another important part is ensuring finance flows to align with investment needs. Financing is one of the biggest challenges, although some might view solar as not having finance challenges as other renewable technologies. But we need to enable more finance flows, especially to the emerging markets and developing economies. And this could work, we need to increase public funding for solar PV projects. The gap to reach the tripling of renewables in general is 12 trillion by 2030. So a lot of investments, a lot of financing needs to be already flowing. We need to encourage more private investment going around, and there's multiple tools that could implement during that, with blending financing and incentives and tax credits or tax credits just for PV projects or PV companies. And at the same time, supporting multilateral and bilateral development institutions to expand project financing. And this includes the risk mitigation tools, and here, especially for the regions where they lack energy access. And collaborating with major private investor, we need to address concerns for other concerns for solar investments, especially targeting smaller project sizes, standardization of things like PPAs and other contracts, and also with the consideration of environmental, social, and governance factors. Sorry. All right. So one of the main challenges as well is the grids and the grids integration. And to face that, we need to unleash a flexibility revolution by scaling up investment in battery storage, grids, and electrification. This will prevent further curtailment of solar energy and in incentivizing more projects to be connected. We can need to first invest in the grid flexibility itself, plan grid upgrades alongside renewable capacities. So planning is really crucial. Utilizing more distributed solar and will help reduce reliance on high voltage transmission lines, and we need to plan battery storage, include it in regulatory framework, and establish maybe global storage targets to incentivize investments and development in storage, and explore how interconnection between grids, countries, and regions could also support, energy exchange and complementing generation and demand. Streamlining permitting schemes is very crucial. There has to be consistent permitting procedures, at least per country, not necessarily per municipality or per city. Hopefully and ideally, we have a permitting scheme that's very homogeneous across countries. Implementing a one-stop shop is always, a perfect solution. One place to have all your permitting and regulation, and setting maximum waiting times. We need to build more trust with the consumer developers on how these processes are made by transparency, and we need maybe guarantees for grid connections, and then to be flexible according to project size. Solar is a very versatile in terms of project size. So these permitting should also be flexible and to meet this kind of variability in size. We are a green technology, and we need to make sure it continues to be that by adopting sustainable environmental and social and governance practices based on global standards. This means that we need to establish regulation standards for these ESG practices and implementing due diligence processes to achieve these compliances, supporting multi-stakeholder initiatives, and we support the solar stewardship initiatives that could ensure implementation of the ESG goals. And some of the more things to focus on is responsibility for solar products, and how we can better implement reusability, recyclability of solar projects components like solar panels, inverters, and batteries, and investing in more projects and processes, facilities for solar recycling is much needed at this point. And these recycling materials will ideally could help be integrated in local value chains. Another important part is to meet the skills needed for tripling renewable energy, for the solar projections we are seeing. So nurturing the development of solar skills and matching the sector growth, investing in training programs, educational initiatives is very crucial, and development of international certification schemes that could help integrate solar skills between different regions and standardize these skill sets globally. And what's one initiative we are working on is called the Solar Training Standards Initiative. It's implemented by us, both the Global Solar Council in partnership with the Global Wind Organization, and which in the end will we need to allow easier mobility for skilled workers across borders and regions if we want to increase this solar growth, especially in regions where they lack or there's a gap in solar workers and solar skills like Europe. And now it's one of the most discussed maybe challenges, which is the solar supply chains. We need to scale up and diversify low-cost and resilient solar PV supply chains. We see, of course, China has a big share of this supply chain, and they work intensively in building it and making it low cost, which incentivizes the overall growth of the solar PV supply chain. So I feel this is a success of the industry. We need to take into consideration. At the same time, manufacturing should also be diversified, but we need to make sure that it's still low cost. So supporting local efforts to diversify the solar PV supply chains is important, especially because the business case might be very difficult at this time. And still aiming for free, fair, open, and resilient network based on international standards that's cost effective and meets the demand growth that we need. Boosting investor confidence by having national strategies and incentives for local manufacturers and local supply chains, and most importantly, promoting open trade practices and international cooperation with the solar PV market to keep costs low and have a sustainable growth. Increasing investments in general for research and development is also very crucial, and technology exchange between countries, of course, funding for private sector incentives, international cooperation is important for research and development. And this is the end, like maybe of these kind of compact recommendations. This is the most maybe important ones to touch upon. And I'll hand over to you, Michael.
Yeah, thanks, Abdallah, for this nice overview.